My name is Frits Roosendaal. I'm a professor of epidemiology in Leiden University Medical Center in the Netherlands. So I do my day job is research into causes of disease. But I'm member of Council of COPE and I do a lot of research integrity related activities. So I'm chair of the Committee on Research Integrity here in Leiden. I'm chair of the policy group on research integrity of the LERU, which you just mentioned, where Itamar has given a presentation in Lund. I'm a member of the Austrian Committee on Research Integrity, EWAWI, and I'm editor-in-chief of Research Integrity and Peer Review, and also a journal which is Dutch, which is not relevant for this. Um, I'm very happy we're going to discuss this. We had some discussions about this in COPA Council. How should we react? And these issues, and I'll go into these topics later. These issues are very important, but they're very difficult. And I think it's unlikely we reach a clear-cut solution today. At least you will not get it from me. But I think we'll have an exchange of ideas, and maybe there's some good approaches that people feel like they could adopt. Um, so the geopolitical situation is far from stable. I don't need to say that anybody knows it. There are wars going on in various places. There's a hidden war on stability, certainly in Europe, but also in other places in the world. And there are governments that no longer take science seriously, no longer trust science. And this leads to all kinds of facts that are relevant to us as publishers and editors. For instance, we see bans to collaborate by national law. In my case, talking for the Netherlands, that's the case for Russia. There are some universities that have bans on collaboration. In the Netherlands, some universities do that. That's with Israel. Um, but that's all about basically grant applications and doing research together. It's not of publications, but we have directives from the government of the USA that are direct attacks on the foundation of science, and that will affect what we are doing, or is trying to affect what we are doing. And it's my firm belief that if we wanted to, we can no longer stay neutral. At least we have to do something. And that may be proactive, as it's said here in the first topic that we can discuss. We can be more or less proactive in how we respond to the geopolitical events, or actually the results of geopolitical events that affect scholarly research, that affect what we can publish, who the authors can be, like that. Um, should we, editors and publishers, remain neutral, if at all possible? Can you remain neutral in all of this? But maybe should we use disclaimers that whatever happens is only the responsibility of authors? We'll discuss that. What is the impact on authorship? If these events restrict scholars from specific regions, countries, or affiliations from publishing together? So some of the bans that I mentioned before, or government directives. And how do we handle requests? This is another topic, from governments or other organizations that we're no longer um, able to use certain terms or names. And I'll show this slide at the end again, but I'll give you a few examples to see what we're talking about. And maybe the next slide will be the first one. This was a letter that was sent to over, I think, several hundred journals in April 2025, so not so long ago. It came from a official, the Department of Justice in the US, was signed with blue pen, and it stated to all kinds of journals that journals have admitted to being partisan in scientific debates, um, that the content of scholarly publication is affected by sponsors and advertisers, that we, as editors and publishers, should protect the public from misinformation. Well, that one I think we all agree with. And we should include opposing views, so views that are opposed to the current body of knowledge. And to give, of course, this is about things like vaccination causing autism, or, since we know, last week, Tylenol causing autism. This is also from the Trump administration. I'm afraid that's what we're going to talk about most. This was orders from the Trump administration to many agencies, so the employees who work with the US Department of Agriculture, or the US Veterans Agency. It has gone to many agencies, and this is a publication in The Guardian, that these people have been told that they cannot publish in scientific journals without prior clearance from their boss. So they're no longer to do that. And of course, since they're employees, they have to follow this order or they might be fired, which has happened also, of course, already. Next one. Yeah, so these were examples of the directives. There are many more, but I think these were the most telling. Then there's the thing about terms that we're no longer allowed to use. Well, there's not a list. There's not a clear list what we can say, what not. But the Penn Institute in the U.S. that looks at also at academic freedom and also at journalistic freedom, sort of compiled a list of terms that were mentioned most by statements from the U.S. administration, and they made this nice wordle, I think it is called, on the next slide. And this is quite. I have to move the chat box for a moment. I can see though. Well, you can look at this for hours, which you won't do, but it is quite interesting. You see terms like fluoride that you wouldn't really expect: peanut allergies, vaccines, autism, female word female. Well, I'm not sure that all of these will be used, but you see if you look at them a little bit where they're coming from, which is a government not trusting in science anymore and believing that we are publishing on purpose things that are not true or that are politically undesirable. And we're not sure whether the list will be like this because there is no official list, but this gives an example of what is talked about. So a little bit about what COPE has done. So this is our general position. So we, which is very lofty, we promote transparency and appropriate credit for everyone who qualifies for authorship of a published work. So if people have contributed, they should be authors. That's what we believe. To omit someone who qualifies would be unethical and lacking in transparency. That would be ghost authorship, even if all the authors claim to agree. Decisions about authorship should not be discriminatory on the basis of nationality or affiliation. That's our general position. Next one, please. In 2025, we became more active in making several statements, 2024, 2025, because we were contacted by people, members, who were concerned about news of recent governmental actions, again in the US, such as governmental agencies banning use of selected words, research topics related to some topics, etc., and the letters. And then COPE made it clear that it clearly believes that undue influence by any political, corporate, or social entity is against the core ethical principles of editorial independence and academic freedom. It's not the idea also with newspapers that owners of newspapers affect the content of newspapers. And the same is what we are doing. And so we called upon all those involved in scholarly publishing to be guided by these principles when taking any actions in response to external pressure. Next one. Yeah, I will not go into this. You can look it all up on the website, but we have made several of these statements over the last 2024 and 2025 on editorial independence, on these banned terms, on handling censorship, and on dealing with geopolitical intrusions on the decision process by editors. Publication choices should not be swayed by external governmental policies unless compliance with applicable laws is at stake. And I must say, even in that case, if that law is unethical, compliance might even be considered unethical. The next one. I think we're almost there. Yeah, we're not alone. That's good. So this is just a few. There are many more, but you see that respected journals like Nature, JAMA, or societies like the Royal Society, Society for Scholarly Publishing, they have all made statements about this, which are some are a little bit more vehement than ours, a few are a little bit more cautious, but basically they're all saying the same, that we should, some way or another, stand for academic freedom. And that brings us back on the next slide to the topic that we're going to discuss. So this was just a little introduction, and I hope that warmed you to react. And the first one is, but we can also, well, let's start with the first one. So should we, editors of journals, publishers of journals in the scholarly realm, be reactive or proactive in responding to these events that affect what we are doing?